What are the disadvantages of choosing not to have children? None. Zero. Them a little busier than me. They still make effort to spend quality time with their adult friends and have hobbies and lives beyond being parents. So we all still have common ground to engage about. Nobody has any guarantee they won't die alone, or that their kids will be willing and able to take care of them. There are plenty of ways to live a rich and fulfilling life without kids being part of it. Anyone who tells you otherwise really doesn't have much of a life outside of parenting. And frankly, that's just fucking sad for them. The increased possibility of growing old alone. If everyone you love is around your age or older, there is a higher likelihood of you being alone when you're old, and or not having anyone to take care of you. These children die before their parents or cut ties with them for whatever reason, and some childless people have countless nieces and nephews and whatnot who would never let them be a lonely old person. I know that, and not having kids is totally valid. But it does increase the general likelihood that you might be alone in the twilight years. Honestly, I've never really weighed up the pros and cons. The idea of physically being pregnant is so repulsive to me that I've never once entertained the idea of having children. I just don't have that instinct to reproduce, and I forget that most people actually do want to and enjoy growing another human. For me, it isn't something I actively chose to do. It has always been the way I've wanted to live my life. I kind of figured out I was different, rather than actively making a decision, so I don't see any disadvantages. I'm very happy with my life. There's a really cool fantasy story I heard based in the theory of multiple timelines. It centers on a woman who turns left on a road and meets someone who she ends up marrying and having kids with. In the other timeline, she makes a right turn and ends up meeting a completely different person, and her life goes in a different direction. Her life is completely different in the timeline with kids versus without. But at the end of the story, both versions of her staring at the sunset, feeling very fulfilled and grateful for the way their life has gone. If you didn't plan or invest appropriately, you'll have a hard time when you're older and need to be taken care of. However, due to kids being so fucking expensive, if you had taken some of the money that would have gone into raising them and invested, odds you would have enough to ensure you are taken care of. And since you don't have to worry about leaving any assets to anyone, you can be a little more liberal with spending them. Why keep that house in your final years so the government takes it? Nah, sell it. Take the cash and enjoy it. It's hard to explain, but the accomplishments of my kids means so much more to me than my own. It could just be me, but being able to look at the world through a child's eye again has rekindled much of the joy and wonderment of my youth. Being woken up by a child wanting to play or talk is another indescribable feeling. I'm the luckiest man in the world to have two kids that love to learn, love to play, and love to spend time with my wife and I as a family. For some that might be your version of hell, but it's my little slice of heaven. Now that I'm older, 68, I can't imagine a life without my kids. When I was younger, it wasn't a top priority, that I shifted as time went by. I'd say the one thing you learn from having them is what unconditional love is. You think you have it with a partner. Love is wonderful, etc. But I have to say, loving your child is totally different from any other love. Yes, you may not have a convertible or a beach house. There will be frustrations, tears, and worries. But that love is a connection unlike any other because it's pure and never fades. No one listens to a thing you say because you didn't birth a kid. I've been an aunt for 22 years and I realized I was invisible to parents when a friend who at her first kid asked for advice about diaper brands. I spent a good amount of years buying and changing diapers for my siblings' kids, so I knew a thing or two. My family always had good experiences with loves. Nobody would listen to my suggestions. Or if you try to even say something to a parent, it's like they know you don't have kids and sneer at you. So I gave up. I don't think there are disadvantages, just differences. In terms of old age, even if you have children, it's not a given they all want to or be able to care for you. And we all die alone, even if our loved ones are present. And cf. But I do have loved ones of all ages. I'm 54. But have godkids and extended family I'm close to, as well as people I consider family whom I'm not related to. Read all my stuff. I have already started estate planning. People I love will get some, as will a number of charities. Missing out on the greatest love you can possibly experience. As much I love my husband, parents, brother and friends, it's incomparable to the love I feel for my kids. I would absolutely die for either of them. I don't even have to think about it. As difficult as it's made my life to have kids, to me it's worth it to experience this love. I totally don't think having kids is for everyone though, and I think being in a situation where one is forced to have them can lead to resentment instead of love. In my personal life, nothing. I literally turned to my husband a few nights ago, and I was like, damn, I'm just really glad we decided not to have kids. Some people are not meant to be parents. Probably the biggest downside is how other people respond. A lot of people are really interested in what goes on my uterus, and it is unnerving. Also expected, but still sad. Some of my closest friends now have kids, and we are naturally drifting because interests and priorities just don't align anymore. 3M. I don't dislike children, but I have some disqualifying qualities that are incongruent with fatherhood. I got a vasectomy at 30 for these reasons. I love my freedom. But man, life gets boring. Life gets lonely. I have a girlfriend and a good group of 5-6 friends. But that's really it. Most of the time I go to work, go to the gym, come home, watch TV, and then go to sleep, then do it all over again. That's not a reason to have kids, but it's already something I know I'll struggle with. I need soccer field in Tacoma, watching 8-year-olds in cleats run around crashing into each other and drinking out of a plastic cup. You are laying on a beach in Tahiti, drinking out of a coconut. There is none. People have kids because it's what society tells you to do. If people don't want to hang out with you because you don't have kids and they do, then they aren't your friend. My mother was pissed off that my brother and I opted to not have children. No, I'm not changing my entire life because you want a grandchild. I can barely take care of myself financially, never mind the child. I'm not one of those types of people who will just have kids and rely on the system. As a woman, having medical doctors tell you repeatedly, or younger, or make medical decisions based upon your desire to maybe be pregnant. This so many times in 2040s, trying not to beat head on a wall at the sheer arrogance. I knew at 5 years old I didn't want to give birth. I knew at 21, at 30, at 35, at 40, at 45. Sigh. I hope the kids born after 2015 have a better chance of getting medical professionals to listen to what they should do, not based upon hypothetical. My sister chose not to have kids. She's slightly older than me. I'll take care of her when we are old and most likely outlive our spouses. I'm sure my own children will have their own families to focus on. So together we can be sassy bitches. She doesn't know I'm planning this, lol. She probably has her own plans because, gas, she has many friends and they are also childless anyway. She's cool and I'm sure she will never be alone. None. There are no disadvantages. I didn't read anyone's response first before posting, which I normally do. I was 16 when I knew I wouldn't have children. There were obvious family issues that would cause me to arrive at this decision. But I'm 63 now and never regretted that decision. Others, yes. But not that one. Life is just much easier without kids. You have time and money. Live your life, not someone else's. As someone who doesn't have kids, expected to work outside of your contract, resented when you don't. Expected to take care of more family obligations, resented when you don't. Expected to have more fun or more money, judged and mocked when you don't. Not having anyone to deeply care about you when you're old and incapacitated. Not having someone in the house to grab the remote or turn off a light. I have a kid. I don't think you are looking for my perspective. But like any good Karen, I'll give you mine anyway. I love my child with all of my heart and all my soul. If I had the awareness to understand the challenges my child would face, would I do it? IDK. I love my kid. It's only going to be increasingly rough, and I'm not sure I would have signed him up for this if I had the awareness. None. Don't breed. No one got rich having kids. One expecting kids to take care of you in old age. Likelihood of that happening is slim to none. To your stuff when dead. Kids will finally show up to pick over scrapes and toss everything else. 3 lots of ways to take of you in old age, and you'll have the extra cash that you didn't spend on kids. Don't do it. Cane the system. Don't breed. For you when you get old. I remember how I'd visit my parent in a nursing home in their last years of Alzheimer's, and how every year 90 of the other residents had no one ever show up for holidays. Ever. I got to know the staff and learned that many residents were dropped off and no family ever visited at all. So, yeah, there's that. 1. You get to dedicate your life to yourself completely. 2. You will save a lot of money. 3. You will not have to worrying about your kids getting sick, being bullied, having problems at school, getting arrested, killed, or anything that could literally destroy your happiness. 4. When you get older, I mean old, nobody is going to take care of you or feel sad when you die.